What is going on, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 19th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today I am joined by the legendary BobDuckNWeave to talk about a bunch of Xbox stuff today. I took weekend off, and there was a lot of stuff last week, and there's a ton of stuff this week. So today we'll be talking about Microsoft buying Discord. We're going to be talking about the death of Xbox Live. We're going to be talking about the ID at Xbox Showcase and so much more. But before we get into that, my man, would you care to give the fine people in the chat today a quick rundown of who you are and where they can catch you?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is BobDuckNWeave. I stream on Twitch and YouTube. I'm a full-time content creator. I do creative content and gaming content. A lot of it centered around PC and Xbox. You can find me pretty much anywhere just by searching BobDuckNWeave. It's with an N because the "and" was too long for Xbox, so it was BobDuckNWeave. So that's how you find me.
And you get to hit the slang, throwing that N in there just to, you're too cool for and. You don't have time for and.
I'm like 30 plus now. I've got to find these little ways just to, stay up to date with the cool crowd. This is how it works now for me.
Stay grounded with the kids. I get it. I can relate to that. So I guess to get started today, the first topic I want to jump into is the kind of dominating conversation this week. And that's the conversation and the rumors that Microsoft is buying Discord. And, it started off as a tech company is in talks to buy Discord. And there was immediately speculation that, oh, that's Microsoft. Microsoft is going to be the one buying Discord. And then as the days went on, it became more and more apparent that Microsoft is buying Discord, to the point where Wall Street Journal and a few other outlets basically said that Microsoft is in exclusive negotiations with Discord. So at this point, they are the only people talking to Discord about a potential buyout for about $10 billion, which we thought Bethesda was a big deal at 7.5, but you throw a few more billies on there for Discord, that's a pretty big acquisition. So I guess I want to get your thoughts on it. What does this mean for you, if anything? I know we talked about this a little bit ahead of time, that you're not a huge Discord person, but do you think this moves the needle for Xbox as a whole? And what do you think they can do with Discord? And why would they spend $10 billion on Discord?
Well, for me, I mean, why would anyone spend $10 billion on anything is a little bit out of my range. But I think it's really interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense. When obviously they were saying we don't know who's in the running for it. I think the reason it was so centered down so quickly on Microsoft was they are the biggest outside of obviously PlayStation. They're the biggest is the biggest reason to get Discord integrated into their services. Obviously the play they're doing for me. So I used to play primarily on Xbox, solely on Xbox, until I started branching out into other consoles, but then finally kind of moving towards PC. A big thing with what Xbox has seemed to be doing now is obviously that move around kind of pulling those walls down, removing the borders around gaming, so playing what you want wherever you want, and that for me, in terms of, and obviously I know we're something that we're going to look in to later on with being Game Pass. I think that kind of thing, removing the necessity to use Xbox Game Chat to communicate, which is obviously for a lot of us as gamers, that's half the reason that we play together, right? It's one part because the game will demand it and ask you to do it, but mainly because we want to communicate with others, especially in a time like this when we're all stuck inside. It's very valuable to be able to have seamless communication. So it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Discord being that gaming centric, very well-known brand for that kind of communication. And I think a lot of the community as well have been, I'd say asking. I think asking is probably being a little bit, I think that's a bit underrated for that. People have been screaming to get that kind of communication onto the platform. And I think having that goal that Xbox seems to be going for, just going, okay, we're not just about Xbox, we're about Xbox and PC, wherever you want to play. Having a tool that will allow you to do both of those things is kind of just exactly where they're going with their marketing strategy. So I think the reason they sent it down so quickly, like I say, is because it's the one that makes the most sense, because that's been their play for the past year and a half. Is we're gonna stop trying to make everything ourselves. We're just gonna go buy the best of brand and stick it in with everything we've already got, which it's smart. It's smart. I don't blame them for trying it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's clear that the Xbox console and the Xbox box, ironically, is not the future of the Xbox brand. And they are looking at ways to go to where players are. And Discord has an absurd amount of monthly active users. Discord, we associate it with gaming because we are more in the gaming space, but there are a lot of people outside of gaming that use Discord for communication. And it's a great way to build communities. And as we've seen with the success of a lot of other platforms, communities are what drive the longevity of a platform. And so with Xbox bringing in Discord, that's going to open up a lot of possibilities for them, not only for voice chat, but a way to foster and build communities within the Xbox ecosystem as well. I know we've had people, like you said, shouting for a native Discord app on Xbox. People want the option for Discord on Xbox. And it's safe to say at this point that that's likely coming. And hopefully that means some other cool features are coming as well. It sounds like this deal is moving incredibly fast. They are talking about this potentially being wrapped up by next month. So they're moving quick. They want this wrapped up. And I think we're going to be getting an announcement very soon. So it's exciting. And it shows that Microsoft is taking the Xbox ecosystem incredibly seriously. And they are, we hear the marketing buzzwords that, we want Xbox to be the best place to play and stuff like that. And, that's marketing. I get it. It's an easy way to say without any specifics what their intentions are. But now that we're in this current position, we're seeing what those intentions are by the actions that they're taking. So it's not just them saying this is going to be the best place to play. We are seeing that with Bethesda, with Discord, with the acquisitions that they're making. They are really striving to make Xbox the place to play, which is, if you're a big Xbox fan, that's super exciting. So yeah, the Discord thing is a big development and a really rapidly moving development. So when I first heard about it, I was in the camp of, this could totally be Microsoft. Makes sense. Big move. And then like not even 2 days later, people are like, Microsoft is the one. And they are trying to have this done immediately. And I was like, wow, okay. That is, deals of this like nature and size typically take a long time. So for those rumblings to come out and then less than a week later have it almost be done, finalized, is pretty wild. So I want to get to a super chat real quick from Yodani. How does the Rock's new energy drink taste, Miles? Oh yeah, I guess a quick aside for people who didn't know. Last Friday, I got a nice little care package from the Rock and Xbox, which was one of the Xbox Series X shaped mini fridges and a bunch of the Rock's new energy drink, Zoa. And I gotta say, a couple of the flavors are pretty bomb. Pineapple coconut, worth checking out. Lemon lime, not so much. Not so much. The original, the OG, also pretty good. It was really funny. I just got a knock on the door, look outside. There's just a massive crate on my front door. I'm like, okay, well, let's go check this out. Crack it open, see like the wooden crate with the Zoa. And I was like, oh, damn. I got it. I got the fridge, got it all set up, did my cheesy video where I tried to do the people's eyebrow pretty miserably. But so a couple of the flavors are pretty good. And it's kind of like I think it's supposed to be like fitness, health oriented. So it's only 100 I'm not sponsored. Just by the way, this was just some swag really I got.
Happy for the fridge, right?
Yeah, the fridge was definitely the highlight for me. And then the Zoa was a nice little bonus. And I got this cute little, like, obviously he didn't write it, but it was a letter from The Rock talking about it. So it was a pretty cool little care package, and it was pretty fun. So try to have a little fun with it. But yeah, to answer your question, a few of them are pretty good. And okay.
I definitely think they leaned into that well, marketing wise, didn't they? Xbox with I think they've got really, really great at doing that kind of marketing recently, which is, I think we've really seen it in the past year and a half, where they've kind of gone, they'll kind of follow the meme culture and lean into it quite heavily. I think it's really cool to see stuff like that and fun stuff like that to come out. Because at first I was like, oh, it looks like a fridge. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, I want the fridge, which is fantastic. It's a great 180 on what obviously the expectations are like, oh, we don't like it because it looks like a fridge. And now everybody wants the fridge. So I think it's really great to have that turnaround, and the team are doing great over there.
Yeah, their social team is killing it. They've been able to take these create memes and then foster memes from the community and turn them into something just hilarious and amazing. I remember months and months ago when the fridge meme was at its peak, and Aaron Greenberg was like, would anyone be interested in an Xbox Series X mini fridge? And I was just like, yes, let's go. Make that happen. Make that a reality. Totally forgot about it. Months and months later, they actually do it. And I was like, yes, that is the kind of commitment I want to see from Xbox. Power our memes. That's the new
don't let your memes be dreams.
Yeah, exactly. That's the new hashtag for Xbox. And yeah, their social team's been just absolutely killing it. So yeah, the Discord thing is a big deal, and I'm really curious to see how that all plays out. And I'm really excited to see them kind of hopefully innovate and hopefully expand on what that can be, because everyone talks about Skype with Microsoft. As soon as the conversations of Microsoft and Discord happen, people are like, well, they killed Skype. Skype sucks. So are they going to kill Discord? And I really don't think that's the case. I think with Skype, they kind of let that company operate in its own capacity. They acquired it because it was cool software at the time. But that company really kind of failed to innovate. They weren't really doing anything necessarily innovative, and it doesn't seem like Microsoft stepped in to really push them to do so. So therefore, Skype just became pretty dormant and had its lunch eaten by a bunch of other better services. So Discord is, when we think about gaming chat in particular and gaming communities, that's the biggest by far. So that's a big get for the Xbox community. And again, like I talked about earlier, communities are what basically drive engagement. And right now we're in a world where, you know, engagement and monthly active users and stuff like that is more of a metric than sales and financial figures for in some regards. So yeah,
I think Xbox drove that though, didn't they? Because obviously through the drier period, where obviously a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Xbox isn't doing as well due to not having those exclusive, not having those things." The community, I don't want to say it's the only thing that was there, because obviously there's a lot of work going on in the background. But the community really helped keep that the brand alive in that sense, to kind of carry it through to the point where it is now. And obviously the work that the team have done at Xbox is kind of now feeding into that, and that community is being rewarded. And I think that only strengthens that sort of stuff. So as you say, like to the community side of it, I think that's going to really help them build that. I wonder though, how, as you said, because obviously Skype was something that they kind of acquired and just went, this is our new toy, but kind of didn't really touch on with the team. And I know with Bethesda, there's a lot of sentiment in the community where everyone's like, don't touch Bethesda. Let Bethesda, great. I'm glad you've got them. Don't touch them. But I'm wondering from my side, at least from my side, I would love to see Xbox actually get involved and that become an integral part of the Xbox platform, rather than the box itself, but the Xbox platform. I'd be intrigued to see how deep they go into that, whether they're going to let Discord do their thing that typically, obviously, if they've built it to this point. And arguably, I'd say Discord haven't done anything insanely innovative in the past. And I imagine it's probably because they're gearing up to do the sale, but I'm wondering if that's something that's going to continue. If they go, okay, we're going to leave you to it, and our Discord just going to go, okay, well, we kind of just cashed out. Are we gonna just like sail this, or are we going to go, okay, we'll get involved with them? Are they going to innovate by themselves, or do we need to get involved? Because there's like loads of different ways of handling it. Loads of ways it could go wrong, but ways it could go right as well. And if it goes right, I think it's going to be incredible for the overall community and that driving part of no barriers, which I'm all about, because I play on PC now because frames. Yeah, so I think that could be really interesting from that perspective for sure.
Yeah, I think we're at a point in time where Microsoft and Xbox in particular are more involved. So to your point about people in the community wanting Microsoft to leave Bethesda alone, I don't really think that's going to be the case, but I don't think it's going to impact them in a negative way. I don't think they're going to get any oversight that says you have to make this, which is kind of the fear that some people have, that Microsoft is going to come in and say, you have to make X, Y, and Z. You have to make games as a service. I think the way Microsoft wants to position themselves now is they want to get involved in a way that makes these platforms, makes these teams the best that they can be. So whatever that means for the team and the company, that's the stuff that I want to see Microsoft do. I want them to really look at, like, how can we take Discord? How can we integrate this in a way that innovates what Discord is? Discord has a lot of great features, but there's definitely some room for improvement. And I want to see Bethesda, and I want to see, Discord, if this goes through, likely it will. I want to see those in the best state that they've ever been. Because when you have Microsoft money, let's be real, there's no reason that you should not be better than you've ever been before. There's no reason that the next Elder Scrolls or the next Fallout game shouldn't be the best that's ever existed, because when it comes to resources, especially financially, you're set. You're good. Microsoft is backing you 100%. So I really hope that they deliver on that. And I don't want them to just, they've acquired it, they sit back and say, okay, do your thing. Let it happen. We were talking about this with Mojang and Minecraft. And there's some really weird things going on with Mojang and them being acquired by Microsoft, but being this completely separate entity. There's we look at the launch of the Xbox Series X and S, there was no update for Minecraft for this big console launch. And Minecraft is a premier Xbox game at this point. You look at updates for Minecraft Dungeons, and that team is super small. They release a Series X and S update for that game. Completely breaks the game. It takes this team 3 weeks. 3 weeks to fix. They have a game that you can't play online for 3 weeks. And this is a Microsoft first party from one of probably the biggest game financially of all time. And that to me is mind-boggling, that Microsoft has this company that they're involved with, that they're just kind of letting do their own thing to the point where it's negatively impacting the brand. So I really want them to be more involved. I've heard there was some contractual kind of stipulations with the Minecraft deal that basically demanded a set amount of kind of freedom. So I'm sure that's complicates things on that end. But yeah, moving forward, they need to be involved. You can't just buy this massive megaton kind of service like Discord and just let it sit like Skype, because then you're going to have people moving forward who throw it back in your face, like we see with the Skype thing constantly. To your point.
I think that's the thing as well, because I definitely come from, I think from my perspective as well, it's because I don't know if you know this, I used to stream on Mixer, so for me there's definitely that element. So when we're saying Skype, I'm saying Mixer, but but it's more about I think you're right. It's the level of involvement that I think it's good for them to get involved. Actually, speaking of Minecraft, I thought it was a really interesting factoid that I knew that apparently in one of the Microsoft offices, there's an office, like part of the office, which is built out and it looks exactly like a Minecraft world. And I think they came in at one of the points and said, no, that doesn't work. One of those pixels is out of place or something like that. So it's interesting to see what they could get away with from Mojang's perspective. And then it's like, okay, maybe they don't want to let that happen. They're like, well, actually, wait, hold on. But I'd be really interested, like you say, it's like the money that is behind Microsoft and the tech that they can provide as well. Those elements of technology that obviously have made Microsoft this titan of technology that it is. Those are the things that I'd really love to see benefit from. And like you say, with Discord, it's kind of this thing that they have touched on, kind of like with Skype and with like this side of Teams as well. Having that bring in the best of Discord and hopefully still pull from the good elements of like Teams, for example. That would be really cool too, because I think there's stuff that you can learn from each other. So if they can do that, like Sea of Thieves water technology being available to everybody within like the first parties, that's cool. Those things are really cool and really valuable, and they really help our experience as gamers, but obviously their ease of development for the first party studios. So that's great. But yeah, I think I'll be fine as long as they don't try and put Master Chief in the next Elder Scrolls. I should be fine.
You
I'll be
wouldn't want to
okay.
see a chief outfit in Skyrim?
I mean, if
or
it's
Elder
like
Scrolls?
the Assassin's Creed Witcher Easter egg, then fantastic. I'd love that. Stuff like that, great. But if we get to play Master Chief as an optional thing, that might go a little too far.
Taking it one step too far. Quick shout out to the 133 people joining us today. Really appreciate it. If you guys are digging the show, smash that like button, gamers. Yeah, and share it out too. Quick super chat from Mr. Joanna Dark as well. Welcome back, Miles. Do you think Microsoft will bring back older Bethesda titles like the older Wolfenstein games and Fallout Brotherhood of Steel? That would be rad. I really hope they do that, because as we've seen with Microsoft, they are more invested than most when it comes to preserving the legacy and preserving legacy games and making legacy games available. And they have a really good system for backwards compatibility, and Bethesda's in-house now, so it would make a ton of sense that we get maybe super basic remasters or even ports of some of these existing games on PC and console again. So I would love to see it. I think we'll likely see it. I just don't know to what scope. I don't know if we'll see every single previous Fallout game come to Xbox, but I do think we'll see a lot of the biggest ones for sure. And then if not on the console side, PC for sure.
I think one thing to that as well is like I'm really excited with I'm really excited to have the option to easily go back and play some of the older. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls games, but I kind of jumped in realistically in Skyrim, and I've had the option of going back. I think Morrowind's now on Game Pass, I believe, and it's on Game Pass for PC and Xbox. And that's kind of amazing for me, because I'm like, I never experienced this stuff, so the ability to go back and do that, I think would be so much fun. I just trying to find the time to play an Elder Scrolls game right now. That's the biggest challenge now.
I know. When they added Skyrim to Xbox with the FPS boost, I reinstalled it just to check it out, and it looks really good. It runs amazingly. I played it for 2 hours, and then I had to sit down with myself and say, "Am I doing this? Are we really playing Skyrim for the 50th time? You have a backlog of about 75 games you haven't beaten. Why are you uninstall Skyrim right now?"
At least we didn't have to buy it again if you already had Game Pass, obviously. That was the thing. I think I've got like 12 copies of that game.
Yep, I'm one of the fools who has it on 360, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's like Resident Evil to me. Every platform I have, I'm going to buy it.
I've resisted Switch. And I think it's for me because I couldn't get the achievements, because I 100%ed it on the 360, and then I did it on the Xbox One as well. I was just like, yeah, we can do this easy. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
How many hours did that take?
I don't even know, because it's across like multiple consoles, because I have it on PC as well. So it's across multiple consoles on PC. I don't actually know how many collective hours I have, but the one on Xbox One, I definitely did a little quicker than everything else. I was like, right, I know where to go. I know what to do. Just don't need that. Stop picking up like the 12th, ceramic pot. You don't need it. Just get the stuff you need.
Look at your inventory. Yeah. You just have 50 loaves of bread and a bunch of ceramic pots. Like, what am I doing? Why? I just stop. I've become a Skyrim hoarder, and it needs to stop.
Absolutely.
So next topic I want to dive into for the show today is the death of Xbox Live. There's been some interesting developments on Microsoft's front when it comes to, Xbox Live and the branding for that. We saw some rumblings where people were posting screenshots from the Insider app, basically showing that it no longer said upload screenshots to Xbox Live, but it just said upload to Xbox Network. So that got people talking, oh, are they shutting down Xbox Live? What's going on? And yeah, so it turns out that they are moving away from the Xbox Live branding. And again, I think that comes down to Xbox Live kind of was a relic of old Xbox and was a relic of the Xbox hardware. And you associate Xbox Live with the Xbox console because that's pretty much the only place it existed. Even up until like a week ago, you had Xbox Live on your console, and you had to pay to play certain games, and then you could go on your PC through the official Xbox app on your PC and play games like Sea of Thieves and Gears of War without Xbox Live, without any service fee, without anything. So it was really conflicting and honestly really against their whole kind of philosophy recently. So that was to me, or that to me has been a glaring issue with Microsoft, is that they let PC players have all the benefits, party chat, playing games online with no fee, but then they have the, arguably the diehards who are, supporting the console and the box forced to pay for things like party chat. And so I thought that was just a very strange move. So I'm glad that they're moving away from that, and they're really trying to foster this play anywhere approach. What are your thoughts on Xbox Live going away, and what do you think that means for the Discord deal?
I think that's all part of it together, isn't it? Like realistically, they're looking at it as an entire approach. So we're seeing all these things happening separately, but obviously, I imagine in a meeting room somewhere at Microsoft, it's like, right, these are the 20 things that we need to do, and it's all we're kind of seeing it slowly come together now. For me, and like I said, as I was saying before, I've been slowly but surely switching over to PC from Xbox. I have an Xbox Series S. I went for the S because I was like, I've got a PC. I want the S to be able to obviously experience the Xbox stuff, but obviously I have the PC, and everything that goes to PC, I'll be playing it there. And that was one of the things where I sat there, I was like, I think after I got my PC, I think like 1 month after I got my PC, my Xbox Live renewal came up, and I was like, this? Okay, all right, fine. Right, we'll do this then, shall we? I was like, I suppose, like, if I do it this way, which was I actually looked, instead of doing Xbox Live, I think the thing that they did when they transferred over was very good, where they went, okay, you've got Xbox Live, you've got 12 months of Xbox Live, we'll turn it into Game Pass Ultimate for you. So that was really cool, like, just as a value proposition for them to go, okay, yeah, we're still charging you to do this on Xbox, but you get all of these too, which was great because mine's up until like 2022, so
yeah, you're set.
But I think it's really interesting to get for them to be moving this way, like you say, because it's all about removing barriers, and having that as a barrier felt, as you say, like super outdated. Like it's like if they're moving towards doing this kind of new model of like, rather than Netflix sending you DVDs, they got the streaming service which you pay the subscription for. Moving everything into the Game Pass area kind of felt like a really natural progression anyway. And that was, like you say, it's just that one bit that everyone's left there going, wait, who are you again? Why are you here? You shouldn't be here. And I think it's great to see that go away, because obviously it's one of those points which I don't think helps the brand as itself, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, but you still have to pay like to talk to each other or play online, like and all this sort of stuff. And having those things removed, especially on stuff like free games, like obviously like Apex and Fortnite, and having those which are like very largely played games, and people are like, well, why do I have to pay this amount per year or whatever, or per month, per year, however you want to do it, just so I can play these games which are free? Because they're not free at that point, that you do have to pay for them. So I think having that and removing that is going to help them. Weirdly, I think it's going to spin as a positive, despite it realistically feeling like what should be the standard now, that you aren't charged for these things. It's going to feel like a positive, which is going to be great for the brand. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and having all of these things, because I don't think they're done. I think when we heard about Bethesda, what the rumors about Bethesda, everyone was like, oh, right, maybe they're doing it, maybe they're not. Oh, no, they probably won't do that. And then we're seeing them do that, and now Discord, and then this talk of like Ubisoft and all this stuff coming up. I feel like this Play Anywhere kind of deal is just going to be the ultimate play, and getting rid of that's got to be one of the things they have on the box, because you just don't, like you say, it's the same thing with Scott. You don't want people having a reason to go back and go, oh yeah, but remember this, you've got to do this. It's like, actually, no, it's removing all those excuses for not wanting to game and be a part of this whole network of services, because you're just like, okay, well, every argument that you did have, every gripe that you had is being removed and replaced with things that you wanted. So again, great moves. I think they're, but I don't think they're done. I think there's going to be a lot of other things that are happening in the background that we're still going to see, and that's exciting. As a gamer, even though I'm on PC, it's great to see this happening, because it just brings us all together as well. I like playing with other people. Let me play with people, so they don't have to pay like 60 quid a year or whatever it is. I forget what it is now.
Yeah, they are making some really good moves, and we saw with the latest Xbox Insider build that people can actually start to experience the new version of the Xbox platform on console. That they have officially removed, the paywall for party chat, and they've officially removed the paywall for free to play games at least. So you still technically have to pay a subscription fee to play, paid games online, which is again another area of contention because, like I mentioned before, people on PC don't have to do that, and it's strange to me that especially with first party games, like you look at Sea of Thieves, you can go on your PC, play Sea of Thieves, no additional fee associated whatsoever, and you still get all of the cloud saves, you get party chat, you get everything that the Xbox console offers, and you don't have to pay for it. And then they're turning around and telling people on console that you do have to pay for it, and it's again very conflicting. To your point, they are making some steps in the right direction, and I think long term there will be full parity between console and PC, but they are in this, from a business standpoint, this complicated position where they're making a ton of money from Xbox Gold. They're making a ton of money because they have millions and millions of people subscribed to this service. So they are making millions, probably realistically billions of dollars every year off Xbox Gold. And they are working to kind of offset that with Game Pass subscriptions. And long term, that's going to be the goal. Once they get into a position where Game Pass has superseded Xbox Live Gold, which I don't think that'll take very long, we'll start to see all of those other restrictions slowly melt away. And you will have this full parity where whether you're playing on mobile, whether you're playing on PC, whether you're playing on a console, there won't be any fee to play games online. If you have Game Pass, you'll get a ton of perks, and I think they're going to leverage stuff like Discord Nitro into Game Pass Ultimate, and they're just going to start stacking and stacking those perks. So we have EA Play in there. I believe that Uplay Plus is absolutely going to be in there as well. I think that'll be announced probably by fall at the very latest. So Xbox is really going to stack up the value proposition of Game Pass Ultimate to the point where Xbox Gold, as much as they use it as kind of a value proposition, you get free games. There's been the arguments of, are the games worth it, and we can go back and forth. Free games are free games, but they're not really free if you're paying a monthly fee for them. And Game Pass has just completely crushed the value proposition of games with gold. So yeah, they're going to leverage Game Pass Ultimate really, really heavily. And Discord, I think, is, like you said, a big part of that. And there's a lot of, I'm sure there are a lot of deals happening in the background as well that are going to sweeten that pot even further, as we saw with Outriders coming to Game Pass day one. That is the first step of, hey, not only are all of our big first party games coming day and date on the Game Pass, but we are partnering with massive AAA third-party publishers as well to give you big third-party games day and date on Game Pass. So yeah, it's already really hard to ignore Xbox Game Pass. You still have the arguments of people who have the moral quandary of game ownership and stuff like that. And that's to each their own. If you don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, obviously you don't have to. But if you are someone who loves gaming and wants to play a huge diverse portfolio of games, especially when it comes to playing games with your friends, that adds so much value. Like there's been so many conversations with my friend group where are we going to play this? This is $60. Are we all going to go in $60 on this game and play it together? And then are we going to play it that long? And we go through these kind of like moral conundrums of, is it worth $60? And are we going to play this? Or are we going to play it for 2 days and move on? And then with Game Pass, it's like, oh yeah, I'll play that. Yeah, we're going to play it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in. Let's play it. You download it. That's the only kind of obligation that you have to play it. And that kind of frees up the barriers, especially for multiplayer.
That's actually that's really, because that's one of the conversations that we have most on, like, for example, when I'm streaming and when we talk about it, we go, everyone's like, oh, you're going to play this? Literally my first question now, and I think this is why it's so interesting to see this shift, is to go, is it on Games Pass? And it's the first thing I do is go, is it on Games Pass? And they're like, yeah, it's on Game Pass. I was like, sweet, yeah, let's do it.
Let's go, yeah.
Yeah, it's barriers, and barriers being removed is just going to do the. And I think one of the things as well you said around about Outriders, I was super shocked because I've been working with the actual team, Outriders, and I'm ambassador for the game. And I was like, this is really cool. I'm really excited about it. There's not a lot of buzz around it that compared to what I'd expect from a game that this standard, because it's really great. And then it hit Game Pass, and everyone's like, "Whoa, okay, now I'm playing it." Like straight up, this is so easy. The decision was, everyone was like, "Okay, do I have?" Like we're all sitting there going, "Right, do I skip breakfast and lunch today? Do I go and get Outriders?" And like now that decision's been removed, and I think not only does that make it a great harder to ignore from a consumer point of view, but harder to ignore from a developer point of view, because now all the eyes are being drawn to your game. And if they do eventually, obviously, especially if it's a game that is obviously I don't want to say a repetitive game, but a game with high replayability. If you have a game like that that starts on Game Pass and then potentially trails off, you actually might have that second wind of revenue, which is where they go, okay, well, sorry, Outriders is now going off of Game Pass, but you can get it for this like lowered price. And then it's like, rather than having that like the microtransaction model, maybe this is the approach where you go, okay, we're going to launch it on Game Pass, which obviously brings attention to Game Pass and the game. As we go on, we'll take it off and we'll all make more money anyway. So that for me is a really, like, it seems like a really smart business play from Xbox, but also just like now, like I imagine developers must be looking going, maybe we should do ours on this time, which again just strengthens that proposition. So it's kind of snowballing, I feel like now, and it's scary and exciting at the same time. But I'm very happy to see stuff like that from, at least from my perspective, because it allows more people to play games, and especially if we're like playing games as content creators, it's really great. Because if you go, hey, do you want to come play the game with me? Yeah, come on, let's jump in, and we could just boot it up and you download it, and that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of kind of vocal naysayers on social media when it comes to Game Pass and the sustainability and the faux concerns for developers and publishers. And there's been this kind of strange dynamic where you have people who love Game Pass talk about the value, and then you have people online who say that Game Pass is hurting developers or will hurt developers in the long term. Despite the fact that we've seen no negative comments really whatsoever from any major developers or publishers when it comes to their experience with Game Pass. In fact, we've seen the exact opposite. Time and time again, we've had people come out and say, we put our game into Game Pass, and not only did more people than ever play it, but we actually sold more copies than ever because of word of mouth. So you have people playing this in Game Pass and like, oh, dude, this is awesome. You got to play it. And then somebody who maybe doesn't have Game Pass is like, all right, cool. You know what? This sounds awesome. I'm going to buy it. And so it's very strange to me that so many people are vocally against a service like this. And I think a lot of it is, again, just probably a more vocal minority of people who are kind of scared of change and scared of realistically the future. Because we had the same kind of naysayers when Netflix was first coming out, and people are like, people aren't going to stream. No, give me my disc. Physical forever. I'm not going to stream. I want those
Amazon
discs.
with books.
Exactly.
Well.
Exactly.
We've actually seen it like a bunch of times, and every time we come out at the end of it going, oh no, this is better.
Exactly. We have a lot of people stuck in this kind of old way of thinking, and I get the nostalgia for physical media. I get it. I understand why some people prefer it. Some people want it. It is cool. I collect vinyl, so I understand like that mentality. But at the same time, that is not the majority. That is definitely not going to be the majority when it comes to the way people consume media. And I look at services like Spotify Premium. I look at services like Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and how they've completely changed the way I consume entertainment. I used to buy a lot of physical movies, and I used to buy a lot of CDs, and I have these binders full of just DVDs and CDs that I will probably never, ever use again. They are just sitting in a closet, haven't been touched for years, probably won't ever get touched again unless society collapses and I need to revert to physical media to listen to
I actually did. I can kind of prove this point. If you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to break from protocol. I'm going to leave the desk. I'm going to show you why this is so true, though. It's really 2 seconds. How many of these? So, like, this is possibly my favorite X-Men movie ever, right? this is the noir version as well on this.
Completely sealed. Just
I've watched it so many times streamed. I've never watched this. I think this cost me £30. I was like, no idea why I have this, but it's like, oh, it's there. I got it, and now I'm just like, I've never watched it.
It's gotten to the point where there are movies that I own physically, like you just said, that I will stream. I'll go out of my way to stream, and then if it isn't available to stream, even though I own the physical disc, I could go get that disc and put it in. I just won't watch it. I'll watch something else.
Look, I just showed you. I had to get up, I had to walk over there, and I had to pick it up and bring it back. That's already too much for me.
Yeah, exactly. If I have to get up, I have an Xbox Series X. I haven't used the disc drive once. I haven't touched the disc drive. I don't even know.
This is why I went for the S. Yeah. Actually, funnily enough, I was like, I see no reason for me to be able to use it. I've got decent internet, so I can download the games, like install as I want, or put them on a hard drive. I was like, yeah, I don't need it. I don't need a disc drive, and also I don't have a 4K monitor. So for me, it's just like, this is perfect. That does 1440p at 60 frames per second. Fantastic. 250 quid as well. That kind of, I think that was what kind of sold it for me. I was like, oh, that
okay
for that.
That's the same price as a Switch, and you're getting significantly better performance, to say the very least. I love my Switch, but I've become, again, like you mentioned earlier, very spoiled when it comes to frames. Like at this point, like I don't really want to play anything that's not at least 60. You know, it's hard once you've seen the other side. It's so hard to go back.
It's very hard to go back.
I booted up Breath of the Wild.
Sorry.
I'm saying I booted up Breath of the Wild the other day. Wow, dude. I love that game. One of the best open world RPGs in recent memory. But dude, we're talking like 15 FPS at 720p frequently. And I'm like, I love this game. I want to play it, but I can't. I can't. I've become the FPS snob, and it hurts, but also
I don't think you're a snob for it, though. I think this is the thing, like you say, because it's from if you're on that side, if you're on the 15 to 30, like the 24 to 30 frame like side, you're like, oh, you're just being a snob about it, and then you go to it. I think Destiny was my first foray into PC gaming. I jumped on Destiny 2, and I was like, oh, this is a different game. Like, this isn't the same game anymore. What's this? This is just Destiny. Did they drop Destiny 3? What's happening? And it's like you say, it's very hard to move back. That's actually interesting. Speaks to another Xbox product, which I think there was a lot of buzz about it, but they kind of like faded off. But I still use it quite regularly, and that's xCloud. On my phone, I have a Pixel 4. I was going to go for the XL. The XL is actually really impressive. 1440p, 60 or 120 frames per second on certain games, like for example, like using services like GeForce Now, but like up to 60 frames per second, 1440p on your phone with an Xbox controller, and that's insane to me. Like the ability to be able to do that, and oh yeah, it's in Game Pass. So I have a phone because, well, everyone has phones. So I think that's how. Yeah, this is why, like when we were talking about Discord and just being part of that puzzle, I think that's going to get absolutely insane as we start to do more of that. But yeah, bit crazy. I think physical media is definitely going to struggle in that fight. As much as I love like my physical statues and the physical media as I did, it's just. I feel like there's less and less reason to do it when you've got that much value in one subscription now.
Yeah, and I don't want to put anyone down, and I'm not trying to trigger or attack anyone here, but I know there are a lot of vocal people in the gaming space in particular that are a little behind the times. They're a little fixated on this obsession with physical media and having to have the physical disc. And there is value in that, and you do get some pretty cool features when you have the disc, and you can play it. If your internet's down or whatever might happen, you still have access to that. But I'll use an example like Cyberpunk. If you have a physical disc of Cyberpunk, that is essentially worthless. The launch version, like the unpatched version of Cyberpunk, if you were to put that in a machine and play it, wow, have fun, because that is just an ugly disaster of a game. And they're increasingly so, unfortunately, there's going to be more and more cases like that where you have the physical disc, and without that day one kind of update, it's going to be either broken or completely unplayable in some cases. So your argument that, you know, you can still play it regardless of anything kind of becomes null. With certain games, not all games, I know.
No.
But again, I just think that a lot of people in the video game community are nostalgic, which is totally fine. That is totally cool. I get it. I have probably 150 SNES cartridges that I still own, still love. Again, haven't touched them in probably years, just sitting in a box. But I like the idea of having them around just for comfort. But it's going to get to a point where I like open my closet 5 years from now. I'm like, what am I doing? I have like 600 physical discs sitting in here just dead. They're never going to get used. I'm just going to donate them. And it's going to be a hard day and a hard conversation with myself, but that's just the reality, you know?
You know, I think this is really key because I don't know if you can see them in the background, but I've got like 5 Assassin's Creed collector's editions. I have all of them physical and all of them digital.
I've double dipped on digital so many times.
It's for me because I very much when I used to work in London, I probably had more money than sense back then, and now I've probably got about the same amount of sense as money, which isn't a lot either. But I have 4 Xboxes in my house. And being able, and this is the really cool thing I found about smart delivery as well. I've got my Xbox Series S that I use here and I use to create content. And I've got my Xbox One X upstairs, my Xbox One S in the living room. And I think I've finally allowed the day one Xbox One to finally sleep for a bit. It's in a box resting for now until I find a nice place to put it. But the idea that like for example for me now I was like I'm gonna go and get it actually stopped me getting the collector's edition of Valhalla because I was like I got Valhalla in digital. I got it. I was able to play it wherever I was in the house, but also I was then able to play it on my Xbox Series S with the Xbox Series S version at those 60 frames per second at 1440p, and I can play it wherever I want, just at varying levels. And I think that's the cool thing about digital media, where you aren't hindered by the fact that if I have that disc, I won't be able to, like without the patch, for example, I won't be able to play the better version of the game. And back to the point on the frames per second, I don't think like I say, I really don't think it's a snob kind of thing, because if you've gone from the PC are all about frames, it's like frames aren't everything, but then if you go to that person and go, hey, here's an Xbox One, here's an Xbox Series X, you tell me which one you prefer. And I get from obviously the availability of the consoles, that's the thing, and all that side as well. But I do think I just think it's great to be able to see this stuff like progress as it is, and I'm hoping more people are going to be open to the idea of going, okay, well, we are going down this route. Unfortunately, as vocal as people may be, it's not really. We've seen it before. It's happened before, and it's happening here again in this space. It's kind of something that I did used to fight, because I was like, I really like having my shelves full of games, and that's great. But realistically, it's not. It's a better experience. It's, I think, effectively cheaper in a lot of regards as well, especially like when you start to factor in like Game Pass. Overall, if you play a lot of games like me, that works so much better as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but yeah, you will always find the opposition to things like this as things change. But hopefully everyone will come round.
Exactly. And to your point earlier, it's about tearing down those barriers. And I think that's a nice segue into our conversation regarding Game Pass and what that means for, again, we're talking about the past with people kind of fixated on physical media, but I think Game Pass represents, the future of games media and how we consume that entertainment. And got to give a quick shout out to the 180 people hanging out with us today. Paris is in the chat. What's going on, man? A bunch of awesome people as well. Synodex trolling me in here. Sofo actually made a really good point about all my physical media, which is donate it to a children's hospital, which is, actually I have a little box going right now with, I get a lot of review units for accessories, headsets, controllers, stuff like that. And so that's something that, once I'm done, that is something I've considered doing as well, is kind of donating that to a children's hospital. So yes, good point. Definitely something I've looked into. But yeah, let's dive into Game Pass and what what that means for the future of the industry, because we talked about this a little bit, and we talked about how Game Pass, especially when it comes to multiplayer games, opens up a lot of doors. We look at games like Apex Legends, Fortnite. The reason those games are so massively successful is ease of availability. You can play that anywhere with anyone, regardless of the device you have. And that adds so much longevity and power to a game release. And Game Pass, as we're seeing with Outriders, I talked about this on Twitter, but some people look at Outriders as a big get for Game Pass. I think more realistically, Game Pass is going to be a big boon for Outriders. I enjoyed the game. I have my criticisms. I played the entire demo through twice, and there were some kind of, concerns for me when it came to like the launch of this game. Like, what was the reception going to be? Was this going to take off? And like you said earlier, when anyone can download it via Game Pass and play with their friends, that is going to open up a huge pool of players. And you're going to have way more people playing it and way more people talking about it, which likely in turn will kind of get more excitement about it. Where when you look at it at a $60 price point, when I played that demo, I was like, I'm not paying $60 for this game. No way. I am not paying $60 for Outriders. I don't think most people who played it would. There was, again, a lot of red flags for me with that game. But when you put that in Game Pass, you tear down that financial barrier, you can start looking at the game as like, cool, I can just play this. I don't have to invest money into this. And there's a lot of people who are very vocal. Again, gaming is expensive. Gaming is an expensive hobby, and they try to use that as like a weapon against people complaining about the price of a game. But $60 is $60. Like to the average person, that's a big deal. You can't just. I used to look at my bank statements and see that I spent like $180 a month on games, and I'm like, why? I played this game for like a week. Is $60 worth like a week of playtime? Sometimes, sure, but I understand that people have to be, a little more cautious of how and where they spend their money, and Game Pass is a huge step forward when it comes to getting more people to play more games. As we've seen with Sarah Bond came out and said that people who play on Game Pass play games 20% more than people who don't. And I think that's because they don't have to look at every penny they spend to play a game. They can see it in the catalog and download it and play it, and that's it.
Yeah. No, I think it's like you say. I think it's that boon for, especially going back to your Outriders point. I definitely agree there, because I'm doing stuff for the game myself in my own content. And when I was talking with a lot of people, and they're like, oh yeah, I might try it. I've got this other game and that other game to play. And then the sentiment switch as soon as like, oh, Game Pass. Yeah, no, definitely playing it day one. Yeah, literally as soon as it goes live. I think that's the kind of value that it's going to give you. Like, again, I think the entire play, and I know I've said it like 100 times already, but that entire play about the barrier removal, just going, okay, just jump in and you can go and play it. That will add value, both financially to the game. I do think, because like you said, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not going to help the developers. I don't think I've seen a single account of an actual developer going, oh no, Game Pass is bad. Game Pass is going to be bad for us. Mm-hmm. Everybody, if it was the case, you would not see games like Outriders, obviously with big publishers like Square, going, oh yeah, we'll put your game on their day one. Which means like all these people, like everyone sat here is like with their pre-orders, and let's be fair, a lot of people who had that pre-order will have cancelled it and gone, I'm just going to play it on Game Pass. A friend of mine who was going to play it on PC is like, no, I'll just play it on Xbox now because it's for free. And that's, I think, whilst that might not help that initial pre-order, it's going to get so many, like you say, so many more eyes. And especially if we see games, and I know they're probably obviously AAA to indie, but like seeing games like you're having like Valheim and these kind of games just like surge because of just general word of mouth, because everyone's like, oh, I'm playing this game, it's really cool, you should check it out. And then the availability of those games being like obviously being lower price or whatever it is, or just add that access to it. Like, Among Us, how many? I think it's safe to say pretty much anybody with a PC has installed Among Us, because it was like £3. So like that lower like barrier for being able to access that can only help the popularity of it. And like you say, if you still have those people on there who are gonna either want to support the game or still just they're gonna keep their pre-order so they own it technically, like, in that sense. You're still going to make money off of those, but then obviously having your game being played by more people for a longer period of time is going to be way more valuable to anybody, especially if you go, okay, oh well, that was a great game, but I think the times where you go, I was like, oh, that's a fantastic game. Yeah, I've really heard it's good. I really heard it's good. I never got around to playing it though, and I don't hear that nearly as much anymore. And everyone's just like, oh yeah. It's on Game Pass. I've played like 50 extra games this month, and it's cost me. Oh look, £12.
Yeah.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad. But I think if you like look at it as well, and everyone's saying, "Oh, like you already have all these subscriptions," because that's a good. I think that's a valid argument, like you say, because you're trying to watch how much money you spend, and then if you have Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, like everything starts to stack up. But then I always go back to it, and I'm like, okay, if you play games, and if you play games for 12 hours a week, let's say you've paid. So I think in the UK it's like £12 for a Game Pass Ultimate for a month. If you play 12 hours of gaming in that entire month, that's cost you £1 for 1 hour of entertainment. That does not. There's nowhere else can you get that value. Like literally nowhere else can you get that value. So when people are like, oh, okay, like it's another subscription, it's like, yes, but it's all what you get. I wouldn't advise anybody to get 12 billion streaming services if they don't watch like movies. Like you just don't do that. But the same, so I get the sentiment is like, yeah, there's loads of subscriptions, it's going to cost you loads of money, but if you're utilizing it to the right extent, the value is absolutely insane. I probably shouldn't admit this, like 40 hours of minimum 40 hours of game, because obviously doing it as a job, minimum 40 hours of gaming a week, like minimum. And if I'm sat there going, okay, well, I'm paying £12 for most of my gaming, EA Play being like, I'm replaying Titanfall 2 for the first time playing it on PC, because it's available on PC and Xbox within the same price that I've already got. So for me, I'm just like, yeah, great. I'm just going to go back and play all the games that I didn't play, all the games that I want to replay, all the games that are coming out new. I have no reason not to renew it. As soon as it comes around, it's going to be the easiest renew I've ever done. More so than Disney. I really like Marvel. So I think that's when you look at it and when you break it down on the face of it, I see how people are resistant. But then when you actually like take 60 seconds to look in just to the finances and the value proposition that they're actually bringing, it's very hard to deny that there isn't an insane amount of value on there.
Yeah, without hyperbole, it is the best deal in gaming right now. And I think realistically, a lot of the opposition, I think, is coming from a kind of bad faith argument, because they're, throwing out these examples where they don't exist. They're throwing examples that say this is bad for developers or this is bad for so-and-so, blah, 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 but they don't really have any actual evidence of that. It's just coming from a place of, I don't like this idea, or my platform isn't supporting this fully, so therefore this is not good. I don't like this. And it's not that there is a fundamental flaw with the service, because like you said, have we seen any developer come out and say that Game Pass is bad? Any developer who's actually released and experienced a Game Pass launch? I haven't. I'm not exaggerating when I say I haven't.
I wouldn't say like they definitely won't ever exist or ever be a thing, but yeah. We haven't seen it as of yet in terms of a highly marketed, and let's be fair, if it was to occur, those vocal minorities would be able to draw on this actual feedback from an actual developer and go, okay, here's the facts. Because obviously, like, making up these stories is one thing, but if you obviously, even if you don't like a service and you're just against it because you're against it, you would be able to draw from something factual, and we haven't seen anything factual yet. It's still, like you say, it's just these, oh, well, it could be this and it could be that, and he goes, oh, I heard, my cousin's brother's dog's parent say this, and it's no, it's just give me, if you want to have a reasonable and rational argument on how this could negatively affect developers, then great, let's have the conversation. But that's just not there. It's just simply not there.
Yeah, you can. I understand where that comes from when people look at what this costs, because the value, as we've talked about, is absurd. Like the amount of games and the amount of stuff you get with this subscription for what you pay it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that there are no downsides to it. And it's hard to believe that, maybe behind the scenes, there aren't people getting, the short end of the stick. We look at Spotify. There have been a lot of musicians when it comes to Spotify who've spoken out and said, I'm making no money off this. I'm getting pennies for like thousands and thousands or millions of streams. I'm making no money. So I've, if you want to like use that as, an argument, I could see that, because, that is a real issue in other, industries. Music in particular is just unfortunately antiquated in a lot of ways, and people get the short end of the stick there. But so far with Xbox Game Pass, we haven't heard those. We haven't had a developer say, I released this game here, I didn't make any money, nobody bought it, nobody played it.
I think the argument you make about the Spotify thing actually almost doesn't apply here, though, as well, because obviously you've got an intermediary there being the record labels. So that's one thing from there. You're serving two parties, and obviously the bad stories coming from the artist who have to go through all their money is controlled by that. This isn't the case with this. It's developer and Game Pass. Those are the two elements. There's no, and obviously developers having an employee, so on and so forth. But that kind of applies regardless. I think there's a part here, and I don't know how. Obviously, I don't know how the financial side of that works on the Game Pass side. But I don't think again, Outriders is a great example. I don't think Outriders would go, hey, let's put it on the first day, and then obviously recognize that people are going to cancel pre-orders, recognize that people aren't going to buy it up front, and still want to do it if they didn't see actual financial value in it. And you don't see brands that big. You don't see developers like People Can Fly. You don't see publishers like Square Enix just go, we'll see how it goes. Like they're going to have thought about this. They're going to have done their homework. They're going to have the conversations. They're going to have looked at the finances around and going, okay, this makes sense. There's no one's going into that going, we'll just figure it out, hope for it to work. Which essentially, unfortunately, is kind of how game development would work outside of Game Pass, which is really hope this sells. And that's it. And obviously that's a factor of marketing and so on and so forth. But essentially what Game Pass is doing with it is giving games like this on day one is such a boost in their own marketing, because obviously Game Pass want it to do well too, because obviously it increases their numbers, so it benefits them, and you get that whole drive of marketing from that side, which again it's the snowball effect again, just with how those games can get that attention and then therefore make money because of it.
Yeah, I think Outriders is going to be the first step in a long series of big multiplayer games launching into Game Pass. I don't think this is the only big third-party game we're going to see this year launching straight into Game Pass, and I think we're going to see a lot of positive press from the release of Outriders into Game Pass as well. So, like you said, it's scary to be a game developer or a publisher and spend millions and millions of dollars and years and years making a game, and then hope people play it, hope people buy it. You put it out into the world, and then if it doesn't connect, people are losing their jobs. People have spent 4 years of their life on a project that nobody plays, and that's scary. There's some real legit fear that comes from that, and Game Pass, especially for Xbox first party, is going to alleviate a lot of that fear and open up a lot more possibilities for really kind of creative ideas they wouldn't normally make, because on paper this isn't going to make money. You can look at Game Pass as a vessel for, you know what, we have the backing of these subs. You can put this game out, you can make this game, and you don't have to worry about being laid off, unemployed, shuttered. And I think that is the big value of a lot of people wanting to join Xbox Game Studios. And I think that's the value of a lot of people, being able to develop a game that is a Game Pass game. And that's not a negative thing, because let's be real, the industry for a long time was really stale when it comes to, these are the games that are successful, so these are the only games, big budget wise, that are going to be made. We have to use the X formula because we know this is going to make money, and we're too scared to do anything else, so we're going to keep doing this every single year. And that's, I remember Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era, just playing the most absurd, weird games. Like Xbox, PlayStation, these big budget publishers were putting out weird, dumb games, and it was fun.
Hogs of War is still one of my favorite games of all time. That was insane.
And I miss those days. I miss weird games like Voodoo Vince and just these obscure titles that don't exist anymore because people are afraid they won't make money on it. And it gets increasingly more expensive to make games, and so I understand the financial stress there. Mr. Joanna Dark, you're saying super chats aren't working. Let me know if anyone else is experiencing that. I can look into it, but appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
I think there's one element of that as well, is when we talk about the fear of developers having to do it as an X model, because I think one of those fears is manifested in possibly, and now it depends on how you look at it. One of the probably one of my least favorite things in gaming, but also the thing that hooks me every time, which is microtransactions. Now, I play a lot of Avengers, and it's all the microtransactions are cosmetic, so I don't need to buy them, but I need to. So, but with this stuff, like around again, I mean, I think like you say, Outriders is one of the first ones that's kind of these AAAs in the thing, so it's a really good example of it. They're moving with, I think, especially Xbox are trying to move away from this side of, hey, we can have microtransactions in our games. We can have all this stuff that's going to just like try and drag money out of you, so we can just recoup some of the costs because we're panicking that not enough people are going to buy our game. And like you say, it relieves that fear. And I think a lot more developers are now like, okay, we don't have to do that now. We can just do I think what a lot of devs got into like the gaming industry for, because if you're going to be a developer, if you're going to be a programmer or a designer, stuff like that, gaming, I think, like you say, is a very real risk because of the layoffs after a game is completed, or like if the game doesn't do well, if it tanks, you spend all this time working on the game, which effectively on your resume could look terrible. Like, because if you're like, okay, you worked on that really bad game, and now it's like, okay, how do I get into this super high competitive industry where you're like, okay, can I make this game? And like, oh, you made that one, I don't know. But if you have that in Games Pass, it's like, okay, well, we played around with it, we did these creative things, and we tried to do these things, and we didn't have to go back to this whole kind of, let's just churn, like make sure that we churn all the money out in microtransactions. Therefore, I think not in all cases, because I don't mind personally, I don't mind microtransactions if they're like cosmetic, because I love dressing up as different Marvel characters. It's a thing. I really like Marvel, if anyone didn't peg that. I think it's great to have those sort of things, but when you're having it as part of like the experience, like we saw with like Battlefront 2, a lot of stuff realistic, which kind of, I think, flies way under the radar as well. Like you said, like the same games coming out every year, very much like sports games that have really heavy transactions, like microtransactions like FIFA and stuff like this, to basically fund and basically get as much money out of the games as they can. There's not much room for creativity because you don't want to go too far from the formula that works. And if you do that, then you're risking losing money. But in this case, like you say, a lot more creativity, which I think just gets us as the consumers a better game, which is what I think actually Xbox are actually kind of more about now than they've ever been. It's just like, we want to do the best for you, which is really great to see.
Yeah, and that's really exciting to me as someone who loves the process and loves the industry. I want to hear more people talk about that and say, hey, we want creative, fun people who love video games, love the industry, to be able to create the games that they want to make. And, again, I always joke about me drinking the Xbox Kool-Aid. Obviously, I prefer Xbox. I have a PlayStation. I like my PlayStation. I also have a gaming PC. I have a Switch. So for me, it's, while I prefer Xbox, I look at the industry as a whole and I look at what everyone's doing. So I'm not exclusively playing on Xbox by any means. Obviously, again, I prefer Xbox. So I make the Kool-Aid joke because, some of the stuff they're talking about with Xbox Game Studios and Xbox Game Pass, I genuinely want to believe that that's the reality. That the reason Xbox Game Pass exists and that these studios are buying into working for Microsoft and Xbox is because they see this vision and they care about the industry and they want to make really great games. Phil Spencer, to me, is someone who loves gaming. He doesn't ring off as, the corporate executive trying to make money like your Bobby Kotick's at Activision, who we know are more about the money than really anything else. I'm sure Phil Spencer makes more money than I can comprehend. I'm sure he's very well compensated.
As I say, I don't think he's struggling though.
So I'm sure his compensation package is nice and fat, which is a factor, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, to me, he just kind of gives off this vibe that he is about the industry as a whole. Like, you look at your Reggies of the world, and they just love gaming. Of course, they make a ton of money. And there's a ton of money to be made in video games. But I don't think that is the ultimate driving factor for them at the end of the day.
No, I was literally about to say. I think money for, like you say, the Reggies and the Phil Spencers of the world is very much an outcome of the things that they want to see in their fields and in the industry. I think if it was any different, you wouldn't see innovation. People don't innovate just to make money. People innovate because they want to see innovation in the space that they work in. They want to see creativity, want to see these things. You don't typically see innovation just because it's just like, oh, that's going to make money, because innovation a lot of the time, very short term, doesn't make any money. It actually costs you a lot. So having that foresight of going, okay, we're going to change the industry, and therefore as an outcome of this, yeah, we'll probably make money, but it's more about doing the stuff up front and going, like, this is what we need to change the landscape, and then once we've changed the landscape, we can reap the rewards.
Yeah.
So I think that's the kind of person he is. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's and again, and I'm probably speaking to my own experience, I don't think he's afraid of canning stuff that won't make money or just doesn't seem to be going places, because that's just bad business. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but
yeah, it hurts to say, but it's
just, like, I think from the perspective is, like, I don't think he's afraid. I don't think Xbox and Microsoft are afraid of getting rid of these things, but I do think with people like Phil at the helm are very valuable. Again, like I think you were saying, like, about the cooler. I think it's really interesting because I love Xbox, but I'm not going to lie, I way prefer PC as a gaming experience. I'm very lucky to be able to have that, and it's that's not very accessible just as a system. It's very, I mean, you could argue that Xbox at the minute and PlayStation aren't very accessible with the amount of units out, but having that accessibility from the level, which is why I bought Series S, is like £250. If you have a lot of the, I think there's like all access, you get Game Pass included, and you can pay for it on like a plan or whatever. Having it like the accessibility for that, they've definitely thought about how to get this in as many hands as they can across as I think they go in the volume play like so heavily, but without, for the first time that we're seeing is like people aren't compromising on the quality. Because that was the thing. It was always like, do you go more quantity to try and make more money versus more quality? And I don't think they're doing it. I think a lot of people's fears are around that. With Game Pass, they're like, are we going to get games that aren't as good because they're on a subscription service? Again, I always like to refer people back to the Netflix model. Like, some of the best movies that we've seen recently are like these Netflix exclusives that you get, and like, they're mind-blowing experiences because people have been allowed to do different stuff creatively. And that anytime someone talks about Game Pass and talks about a negative, I'll go, yeah, well, that happened and that didn't happen. So don't worry. Like, look, if you want to know about the future, look to the past. Like, just see what's already happened. And it's happened 2 or 3 times across and I don't think it's very rare for it to happen so closely, because obviously that's happened in movies and TV, and games obviously being an interactive form of media. It's very close to the other one. So I don't think we have to look too far from there to go, what's going to happen here? And as we get more people come in, and like obviously like how Netflix acquired like actors and actresses to do exclusive stuff on Netflix and these sort of things. Okay, Adam Sandler's, I'm exempting that. But you like a lot of these people bringing them in, it really added value to the whole proposition. And I think that's the same thing that we're seeing with the studios that Xbox are buying, is going, and that's how that's going to work as well. So I think any fears that we've seen, again, just look to what Netflix did, and we'll go from there. I think that's basically Microsoft's like business strategy. We'll just do Netflix. We'll just do that. That seems like that works. So let's do that.
Yeah, Xbox Game Pass is the closest we've seen to this kind of, mystical Netflix of gaming that people throw around. Game Pass is that. I'm sure people internally at Xbox probably understand that comparison. They probably don't want to come out and say that as like a marketing point, but that is the model. You build up studios, you build up a huge catalog. So every time someone looks at Xbox Game Pass, they can say, wow, it's got this game, this game, this game, this game. And then on the horizon, here are all these massive games that are coming to this service as well. And we're going to get to the point where once we start getting massive games like Halo Infinite, Starfield, once you see the games of that caliber in Game Pass, like the average person, maybe who would not normally even buy a console, wouldn't play games, is like, oh, I can play Halo Infinite with my friends for $15. Sick. Let's go. I'm in. Like, those are the kind of powerful, impactful moments that Game Pass allows the average person. Because I get that, we want to have that kind of bubble, and gaming's my thing. I want it. I want only cool hardcore gamers can play games. That's what I want. But that's not what I want. I understand where people come from, but realistically, the more people that play games is going to just open up the possibilities for more games, diverse games, creative games, bigger games. So I don't want it to be a niche thing. And again, I'm a dirty console heathen. I have my PC, and it's capable. I can play a lot of games at probably higher frame rates, but I still kind of prefer my Series X just for that console experience. So I understand that, but at the same time, like, I'm definitely not in the camp of people who are like, you have to have this hardware. I feel like that kind of business model, that mentality needs to go away. We still have people clinging to that, where if you want to play this game, you have to own this box. Like that to me needs to stop. And I think that in the next 5 years is not even really going to exist from anyone. Despite,
I think even shorter. I think this is just going to be like the same way that you have like an Android TV stick, or like a TV that has like all these streaming services integrated into it. I think it's going to be like that thing, like it just doesn't exist technically in the physical space anymore. It's just you have these things that you can use to access these areas, but none of it's actually that anymore. You're not retained to that. And I think people's scared of that, because a lot of people, and I'm probably going to get heat for this, but a lot of people will center it around a lot of their personality around, or at least their online personality around how good this particular piece of plastic is. It's like, because I could say at the end of the day, like, realistically, the much more stable experience for me is to play the Xbox, because after an hour of trying to tweak settings on my PC, I'm just tearing my hair out. So I get from the PC perspective 100%. Sorry, the like preferring the console experience, but that's the thing. It's a great thing about that. It's like, it's just not. It's the accessibility level is huge. You don't even technically need a console or a PC anymore. You could just use your phone and a controller now. Mm-hmm. That's the huge thing about the entire, like, what their entire play is like just like how easy you can just access that stuff. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
Cool. Let me get to a quick super chat from Binyabik. Oh man, top 3 games from ID at Xbox yesterday, Miles and Bob. So I guess we'll transition into that. It kind of is the last topic of the show for today. Did you watch the ID at Xbox stream yesterday?
I was very much planning to. I have a 3-year-old, though, was very much more interested in me watching him instead of the ID at Xbox. So I haven't had an opportunity to watch it as of yet, which I did want to, and I did want to be prepared for this. But I will maybe use your recommendations to guide from where I need to go.
Beautiful. I watched all 3.5 hours of it, so I can kind of guide you in the right direction for kind of the highlights for me. But some of the stuff we had embargoed ahead of time, so there were a few announcements I knew about. We did an interview with the 2-person developers of this awesome looking kind of top-down Zelda-like called Death's Door, which has got some elements of Dark Souls progression and some Zelda-like fast-paced combat. And it's basically set in this world where you're a crow who is tasked with basically reaping the souls of the people in this world, but nobody's died for thousands of years, so you're kind of, your day job's boring. You're just sitting around waiting for people to die so you can go get their souls. And then from there, you get your first assignment, and then it kind of shoots you into this kind of open world. And it's, check out the trailer for it. It's called Death's Door. That, for me, is the standout of the show. That's 100% my jam. Like, I'm Legend of Zelda, Dark Souls for me, 2 of my all-time favorite franchises. So you put those in one game, and that's a recipe for a Miles Game of the Year contender right there. So that's awesome. Soup Pot. If you guys weren't following Soup Pot, open your eyes, get ready, because Soup Pot is going to change the game forever. It's this weird, like Cooking Mama-esque game where there's no recipes. You're just in the kitchen. It's like a free-form physics cooking game where you're in the kitchen using your hands to measure things, and you can just kind of make whatever you want. I guess you can also burn down your entire kitchens. There's like this weird social media element of it called Cookbook. So you're one of those obnoxious people on Facebook who posts every single meal you make to your friends in this game as well. So it's It looks insane. It looks absolutely wild, and I'm all for it. It's got amazing like jiggle physics for the dough. So there's a scene in the trailer where they like put the dough in the oven and you see like the bread jiggle. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be good, but I am gonna buy it day one. No questions asked.
I am literally watching it. You said cooking game, and now I think my wife's got me on kind of like a major watch. She's a massive fan of cooking games and cooking in general. And I'm just watching this, and I just realised this will be on Game Pass. I'm assuming all of these games that are coming from ID will be on Game Pass as well.
So they revealed 80 games, and 20 of them will be launching into Game Pass. I don't think this is one of them. Unfortunately.
Okay, well,
well,
I've just lost some money there.
Yeah.
Why is it not on Games Pass?
I know. I
just want everything on there now.
I'm buying it, no questions. But that's also amazing. And then my third one, I'm trying to think. Last Oasis. I'm a huge sucker for hardcore survival games, stuff like Ark Survival Evolved. I love Grounded as well. And Last Oasis is kind of like this weird Mad Max meets Howl's Moving Castle. So the whole like loop of the game is building these giant walkers in the desert, and you have to basically move around this map as the sun comes in, because the sun is so intense that it'll kill you. So you have this mobile base that you move around. It's one of those games where it's like 100 people on a server, PvP, PvE. That looks really cool. I downloaded there's a trial on Game Preview right now that you can play, I think on PC and Xbox. Or no, it's on Steam. It's on Steam and Alpha. I don't know if there's a game preview version of it there, but on Xbox for sure you can get a 2-hour trial. So if you're interested in stuff like Ark, that was a really cool one as well.
I have actually had the opportunity to play that on PC previously, and that is actually definitely an experience if you like survival games for sure. So I can vouch for that one, regardless of not being seen. I think that's a very, very cool game. And actually, I was thinking back, Death's Door, I have actually seen the trailer for that this morning. I did actually manage to catch that one because it's literally everywhere at the minute. So that's really good. So I think there's definitely a lot of buzz around it. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And you've just given me a reason to buy another game for my wife. So
yeah, Soup Pod is the one not enough people are talking about to me. Snowbike Mike in here. Dang, what's up, boy? What was I gonna say? Oh, sorry. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff shown. There, like I said, 80 games were shown. There was a ton of cool stuff. 12 Minutes looks incredible. Second Extinction looks like a stupid fun game. There's a lot there. It was a lot to kind of absorb. It was thankfully spread out over 3.5 hours, which I saw a lot of people very negative on the presentation on Twitter during all of it. And you know, it really wasn't a stream for a casual audience. This was a stream for people invested in the process of indie game development. There was a lot of deep dives and interviews with members of the team to talk about these games. It wasn't like this back-to-back Nintendo Direct trailer after trailer thing, which clearly a lot of people on Twitter, that's what they wanted from this. I talk about this frequently, but video games there's too many people trying to eliminate the human element of video games. So we have people who are looking at studios and projects as just the end result, and they're just completely ignoring all the people and the years and the time that go into making this happen, and ignoring the people that make that happen. And to me, like someone who comes from a creative background, worked in the music industry for a while, stuff like that sucks, because you see a lot of people behind the scenes who work super hard to get this out, and you know, at the end of the day, people just reduce it to this game isn't good or this game is good. And it sucks for all the people who spend years of their lives on it and really don't get any recognition or don't have a chance to kind of speak to this project. So for me, I liked it. I get that was boring for some people. Totally understand. It was 3.5 hours. Even me, like I was covering it for work, so I had to endure. There were parts where I was like, wow, this is still going. This is okay. This is all right. Let's go. Let's strap in. Like by the fourth 3-minute commercial break they did in the stream, I was like, is this like an all day? Like, what have I signed myself up for? So
this is the bit that Ents appear in. This is where we are objectively compared to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So I understand for the average person that it was probably boring, but I just saw so much negativity during the stream and like on Twitter, and it bummed me out, because you had these people, like these small teams of like 2-3 people stoked. Like they get to be on an Xbox official stream talking about this project that they made. they're obviously excited. They really want to showcase these games, and especially when it comes to indie, like a lot of those people don't have a chance to do that. So for me, I just thought it was really cool that Xbox had this dedicated showcase for them and gave them a chance to highlight their games. But again, I get that it was boring, but some people were being
I think
pretty brutal on Twitter about it, and it was a little disappointing to me.
I think that's the thing, though, is I think with there's two sides, because obviously, like you're saying, like if something's extended, we're so in tune with short form content nowadays. It's insane, which is why obviously we're seeing like YouTube Shorts, TikTok doing so well. So I get from the consumption side, if you're not prepared, if that's not what you're going in for, I get that that's the thing. But like you say, there needs to be a space where people can express these things that won't usually get a space to express these things. We don't get to find those hidden gems without stuff like this, without people having the ability to generate that buzz. So I think I think you're right. It's very important. But to the point of the Twitter side as well, and then I think it's hard for people, as you say, who are maybe a bit more on the leaning on the casual side, more on the casual side of gaming, versus obviously people who are invested, who obviously have done stuff in the creative space, have done stuff in the industry. They're going to be a lot more invested, but at the same time, I feel like we get in this kind of headspace of subjectivity versus objectivity. Like people will say like for them, it's like, oh, this is bad. But when actually, in fact, they're just saying, I don't like the look of this game. This isn't one for me. But it's that extreme side of that versus objectively, you can have objectively good and objectively bad games. That they do exist. I think that's fair to say that objectively it can't, like, you can have something that, like, for example, as you referenced, the Cyberpunk first day one edition without any patches. Objectively, I would say that's for pretty bad game because it doesn't work. So that's broke. Fundamentally
flaws.
broken is objectively bad, right? But the majority, and like with most art forms, and gaming is an art form, I will die on that hill. It is subjective, but at the same time, like, because it's so subjective, because there's so many different ideas and so many people putting in all these kind of creative, quirky things that are still happening in the indie space, like we talked about, all the stuff that used to happen mainstream is now, I don't want to say shut, but it's very much in this indie space. We don't get to see that stuff unless this stuff happens. So whilst it's not, I'm probably more in tune with AAA games personally. There is a huge amount of value in having these games and giving them the spotlight, because if they don't have that spotlight there, it's going to be very hard for them to break through and us to get new ideas in the gaming space anyway. So I think, I agree with you. It's very, but I think I mostly ignore Twitter anyway.
Mostly Twitter's fun. Mostly I really like interacting with people on Twitter. Like I encourage it. I have a ton of awesome people I communicate with regularly on there. So generally speaking, I really like it. And I understand people's complaints about, pacing, and, it's doing it remote is one thing. But I think people wanted something else from this. And, you can critique that. You can say you don't like that, but there were people who just wanted this event to be something that it wasn't designed to be. And that's fine. But yeah, it's, again, I'm an empath, so I look at the people behind these projects, and it's hard for me to just be like, oh, these people suck. I don't want to hear from them. I just want to see the trailer. Give me gameplay. That's it. Shut the F up, which is kind of the what I saw on Twitter. And I was a little disappointed by a lot of people who were just brutal, just really, really brutal. Because again, for me, I've made it a point on the show and what I do and how I interact with the community and the industry to highlight people making games, sit down and talk to people making games. And I understand, I can look at my analytics of the YouTube channel and understand that not everyone's interested, and that's fine. But that's all you need to say. I'm not interested in this. This wasn't for me. Not this show sucks. This game sucks. I don't ever want to hear from these people. Shut up. And that's kind of again, I understand. I understand that it was boring. I understand for a lot of people it was probably boring and not what they necessarily wanted. But sometimes people are just brutal, and it's exhausting.
I think what I mean, based off of that, because like I said, I didn't have the opportunity to watch it myself simply because of time constraints, which is obviously a thing. I say, from looking from my side, it's not from a lack of want, it's a lack of time. So I get that there's obviously time constraints from people's side as well. I think maybe it would have been a cool idea to go, hey, we've got this super extended version where you can deep dive and go check out if you're really passionate about indie games and all this, and then have the shorter, maybe snippier version, just because of, again, going towards the idea of like how people want to consume it. You know,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So if you want to consume a smaller part of this, hey, there's going to be, if you can't stick around for the 3 hours, there's going to be a shorter version available on YouTube after the event. So if you do want to see it first before everybody else does, you can sit and watch the 3.5 hour presentation. But if you don't, then hey, catch it after, like, you know, catch it tomorrow, and we'll have like a little like smaller, like trailer punchier version for you. So maybe that's an option again, because I don't want to discount and just say, okay, like you know, you're just not interested in if you didn't watch the 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it was
I'm one of those people.
long.
I just didn't have that time. Yeah,
I was exhausted towards the end, so I get it. Like, it was super long, and I think they did end up putting out like a shorter version of like, these are all the games we showed. Here's like a quick little montage. Which, I mean, if they had like a 50, I think some people just wanted like a 20-30 minute thing of like, here's a bunch of trailers, here's a bunch of cool games. Yeah. Again, Nintendo Direct style, which is cool. I understand. Like, not everyone wants to or can sit through 3.5 hours. I totally get that. I'm gonna get to a couple super chats real quick. So I heard you say you like Zelda. Oh, sorry, Yodani with $5. What do y'all think about Tunic? Why was it missing from the show? Tunic is one that I have my eyes locked on. I can't wait to play Tunic. I love Zelda. It's going to be the next Cuphead, I think, where we want it for years and years and years before we get it. I'm really hoping it does come out in 2021. I'm hopeful. But the fact that we haven't seen anything so far, unless it is part of Microsoft's kind of summer showcase, and they're going to say, hey, this game is coming out in the fall. Yeah, it's one of those Cuphead things where everyone saw it, immediately fell in love with it, and was like, when can I play this? And they were like, well, we don't know. We're working on it. We really don't know, though. It will give you a release date when we can, because it's one guy. The developer is a single person for that one. So for that person, there's a lot of moving parts. So yeah, I want to play Tunic. I was hoping to see Tunic there, but again, I got the press release ahead of time, so I knew what was going to be there, and I knew Tunic wasn't, which did bum me out. No Tunic, no Cuphead DLC, but I'm hoping that those two, because of the kind of caliber and the amount of eyes that are on those projects, I'm hoping we see Tunic and Cuphead involved with the Xbox kind of bigger showcase this summer. Another super chat from Mr. Joanna Dark, $5. Miles, would you like an Ascent style Diablo style first party games with all Xbox mascots like Blizzard did with Heroes of the Storm and their IP? So like a Diablo style game with first party Xbox mascots as the characters. What are your thoughts on that? I hope it's better than Heroes of the Storm, because that was not a game I enjoyed, but
it's definitely not a game that I think I have played much of. Not that I'm wholly against it, but I love those kind of games. I love those kind of games that are like, because they're very much, I think a lot of the times they're very much community focused, which is how some of them kind of fail, because they're like, hey, we just wanted to put everybody who you wanted in a game, and it's like, but the game maybe isn't the, like, you know, this like very robust experience. I haven't played it. It's not about me saying, like, again, it's just not something that I'd vibe with, but I think it would be cool just to have an experience like where you can like control those kind of characters and have those kind of things in there, and bring all of these IPs, especially with the new Bethesda acquisition and those sort of things. Maybe now's the time to start thinking about doing something like that. I think that'd be quite cool. I again, like how it's presented and how it's executed obviously would factor heavily into it. Not my kind of game, but I know a lot of people would love to see that sort of thing. So
what I want to see is the Xbox Smash Bros. I want to see Ninja Theory develop Smash Bros. Clone with all the Xbox mascots. If we're doing an All-Stars Xbox game, for me, that's what I want. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Come on, Phil.
I like the sound of that. That sounds much more appealing to me. I haven't played that much Smash, but for me to have that on Xbox, I think again, it's just the IPs, isn't it? You're drawn to the IPs. I think that's why I'd like to play it. But having that gameplay from Smash, you got something interesting there.
Let's go. Right. Another super chat from Dovahkeen89. Xbox was expecting that the general audience would love the Twitch style, and truth is, Twitch is really kind of unique. Way different to YouTube. Yeah, it was a much longer form, and even I didn't know how long it was going into it, like we didn't have any information on how long this event was. So I went into it thinking maybe an hour and a half. And then like we got to the hour and a half mark and I knew we weren't even halfway done with the list of games. And I was like, oh my God, how long is this? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they could have communicated it better, like how long it was going to be, what the pacing was going to be. Because yeah, I think again, people were expecting something different. But yeah, it was long. It was definitely longer than I was expecting. I was sitting in a chat with our Xbox lead for the site and a few other like news writers, and we were just kind of, waiting to break stuff. I had the interview and a few other pieces pre like written and worked on, waiting for the embargo, which my embargo was when it is shown in the stream. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'll just watch. So yeah, I didn't realize the stream was gonna be that long, but that's, but that is what it is.
Have they? One question, because like I said, have they done one of these kind of ID kind of long form pieces of content since, like remotely, obviously, since the world situation has changed? Because I think this is the first time I've heard of something in terms of that long form. I just could be out of the loop again.
This is definitely the first long form thing we've seen. I think they've marketed this as the first of its kind when it comes to this format. I'm sure they'll have a lot of notes from people for sure. But yeah, this was their first attempt at this kind of longer format deep dive. They've traditionally done with the ID at Xbox channel like little montages, showcases, like a lot of trailers, stuff like that, smaller form. So this was definitely their first like attempt at this long form. And it was very long form
yeah. I think that was a really good point about the Twitch side of it, because I think from different viewing platforms, at least you're going to expect different things. So if you do see that sort of stuff on YouTube, you kind of expect, okay, well, is it going to be this, or am I going to get what I usually go to this platform for, which is like short for like generally sub 30 minutes. I think like you generally find like anything sub 30 minutes on YouTube is kind of like that sweet spot for, or as far as people will go. So and I do get that, like it's probably not what the expectation was, but doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah. Another super chat from Harpire Dawns. Please, someone make a demo of a fighting game with the Xbox crew. Phil, Aaron, Nelson, and the rest. So you're talking about like a Smash Bros game with the like executives from Xbox as the fighters?
If there isn't a Phil Spencer skin with the Arnie like body and the Xbox Series X
rocket
bazooka,
launch,
it doesn't deserve to get made. Just if it has that, then fine, like absolutely fine. But if it doesn't, no, don't want it.
Any Unreal and Unity wizards out there, make that a reality, because that is gold. That is pure gold. Cool. Well, we are going to start wrapping things up here. I know Bob's got to take care of the little ones here. So any other question you guys have, we're going to open it up. And then while that's open up, I'm going to let you kind of, again, one more time, let people know who you are and where they can find you.
Absolutely. So thank you for letting me join you today. Actually, it's been really good fun. I literally just wanted to come and talk about games, so this has been really awesome opportunity. And I know I prattle on, so having 2 hours to talk about something is very awesome for me. But if you do want to come and find me anywhere else, it's basically BobDuckNWeave, the same as it. I think it's down there. You can literally search for me on Google, and any platform you pick, you can come and have a chat with me on. That's kind of how that works for me. But I stream 4 days a week on Twitch, and 2 evenings a week on YouTube. So if you want to come and check me out and have a chat about any of this or anything else, I'm there.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun. We had some good topics to cover. Got to catch up on some stuff from last week, so it was really cool to sit down and pick your brain on some stuff and get some different perspectives. I know you like Xbox, but I typically get a lot of people from the Xbox community specifically, so it's nice to get someone on the more PC
I've definitely had
side.
a rocky road. I definitely had a rocky road with the whole Microsoft experience, but I think they're doing incredible things. I don't think it could have been a better topic for me to like have a chat with you about around Game Pass, because like you say, it's literally I don't think anybody, if anybody wants to argue it, they're more than welcome to, because I think it is literally the best value in gaming at the minute. And so it was really awesome to have that chat. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's important to recognize when a company is doing something well. Microsoft is not perfect. Xbox is certainly not perfect. And I hope I'm not trying to, come across in that light, because there are definitely a lot of things we can criticize about Microsoft and Xbox right now. But we do need to take some time to kind of highlight the things they're doing well. And I think that's really important, because the more companies like PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox are really doing well in a specific area, the more competition and innovation we're going to see as a result of that. Because I'm sure Phil was looking at what PlayStation was doing with PlayStation First Party and said, they are crushing it. They are doing amazing things, and we need to start investing and building studios that can kind of compete in that space. And now, on the flip side, I'm sure PlayStation is looking at Game Pass and saying, all right, this really isn't something we can ignore anymore. We really need to either up PS Now or come up with an answer to this that truly competes, because the day and date big games, as they get bigger and bigger, are going to be really, really hard to ignore. And we're going to see more and more people kind of realistically jumping ship, because it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about money. And once you start charging someone $70 every few months for a game, they're going to start looking at Game Pass more and more as a way to say, okay, maybe I don't. Maybe I can save myself some money here.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, everyone who hung out today, thanks so much for watching live. If you're watching after the fact, appreciate that as well. And we'll see you guys next Saturday. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.